line item under operating expenses, we are under budget. The only areas where we're actually over budget had to do with some recruiting expenses, both for physician and employee. So we had total operating expenses for the month of $1,696,000 compared to a budget of $1,809,000. And so we did hold our expenses under budget by $113,000 or 6.2%. That left us with an operating loss for the month of $243,822 compared to a budgeted loss of $65,972. So we did not meet budget for the month of June from operations, and we did have a little bit of a low income month, both in inpatient, on our inpatient side and our outpatient side. Even though we were under budget, it was a strong outpatient month compared to how we have been running year to date. Our contractuals, our deductions from revenue ran a little bit high this month. They were at 70% of gross revenue. We're budgeted for 67.5%. It was just, there was no one reason for that. Our contractual deductions actually ran at 56% of gross revenue, that one line item, and we were in the same place last month. It's just that every line item under the total deductions from revenue was just a little bit on the high side this month. So just a little bit, deductions from revenue were just a little bit high for the month, which really is what threw us into that operating loss. Going on down to the total non-operating items, we're at $268,377 compared to a budget of $227,346. So we were over budget by about a little over $25,000, which left us with net income for the month of $25,355 compared to budgeted net income of $161,374. So we were under budget for the month on net income by 84%. But I would like to go over to the year-to-date. Just going to the total operating revenue for the year-to-date. Total operating revenue, we're at $14,860,000, and we are under budget by $1,438,000 or 8%. But if you'll slide on over and compare to where we were a year ago at this time, we are actually ahead by 7.5% on total operating revenue compared to where we were a year ago. Moving down to total operating expenses, we're at, for year-to-date, we're at $15,079,262, and we are compared to a budget of a little over $16 million. So we are under budget on our expenses. We have contained our expenses throughout the year. We're under budget by 7%, and we are actually under budget compared to last year. Sorry, compared to the actual last year. We have spent less money this year than compared to last year by almost 5%. Year-to-date, our operating loss year-to-date is $218,665 compared to a budget of $94,000. So we are under budget year-to-date. But if you'll look at where we were actually last year at this time, we were at a loss of almost $3 million. And so we do have a 90% improvement from operations this year compared to where we were a year ago. And then moving on down to the net income, the actual year-to-date, we're at $1,836,000 compared to a budget of a little over $2 million. So we are off from budget by 14%, but once again, comparing it to where we were a year ago. A year ago, we had a loss of $132,000. So we are almost $2 million ahead compared to where we were a year ago, year to date.
Do you have the balance sheet?
The balance sheet is in here, yes.
Do you have it?
I have it. I do have it.
Put it on the screen. She does not have a slide. You don't have a slide for it.
No, I don't have a slide for the balance sheet, but you do have it in your packet. If you'll go to the front page, like page 3. You'll go to starting at the front. Yeah, there you go. And I'm glad that you have the balance sheet in your packet, because I would like to. Is everybody on the balance sheet? I'm sorry.
Third page from
There you
the
go. I would like to point out our cash and cash equivalents as of June 30th. We have almost $3.5 million in the bank as of June 30th. And compared to a year ago, we have $1 million more in the bank compared to what we had a year ago. And so, you know, our collections have been consistent, and we have really contained those expenses throughout the year. So our cash looks good. Is there anything else? Anybody else have any questions about the income statement or the balance sheet?
accounts payables are down to 30 days?
Yes. We've made major inroads in getting all our accounts payable paid down. We were at 37 days last month, and I believe we were in the 40s the month before that. So we have maintained our cash and still been able to pay down on our accounts payable.
You know, part of the, in that operating income, there's $1,115,000 worth of depreciation, which is a cash flow.
Non-cash expense.
Yeah, non-cash expense, right? But you know, assets have improved over the last year, 926,000. Liabilities are down 2,440,000. So the improvement in assets and the decline in liabilities is about a $3,350,000 improvement in the financial health of the institution.
Yes, and most of that increase in assets is cash. So, yes, and so we are where we are today compared to where we were a year ago. The financial health of the organization has greatly improved year to year, and you can tell that by the increase in assets and the decrease in liabilities. In much better shape.